Driving tests are scary, I know. I've done loads myself and I've been helping you guys prepare for yours for the last 9 years. I get tons of messages in my inbox asking me driving test questions. I don't mind. I've said on multiple videos that if you have a driving test question, ask me. So what I've done, I've compiled the 20 best questions from you guys about the driving test, and I'm going to answer them all in this FAQ video. Okay, let's go. Can I fail my driving test for stalling? Stalling is a really small fault and it doesn't normally have a major impact on anybody else on your drive, but you can fail your driving test for stalling. It has to be something completely huge though. For example, you stalled in the middle of a roundabout, in the middle of a huge crossroads, and you couldn't recover. And this is why I always say it's not just important to be able to drive perfectly, because when you're under pressure, most things don't go perfectly. So when you're on lessons, practice stalling in hazardous places so that you can then quickly recover, quickly get moving again, and it won't have very much impact on your driving test at all. Sure, it's a mistake, it's gonna get marked, but let's not let a small mistake turn into a huge mistake because you're not used to recovering from stalls. Next, how many minors can you get before you fail? So on the UK driving test, it's so generous. You can get 15 driver faults, minors, and still pass your driving test. 16, that's a fail. I think people worry too much about minors. They actually have no impact on your test at all. If you can make these mistakes and still pass, then why are we worried about it? Let's break down the whole minors thing. On a 30-minute drive, that's 1 every 2 minutes. Let's be honest now, if you make one mistake every 2 minutes, you're probably not ready to drive independently. So unless you mess up that much, which if you're ready for your driving test, you absolutely won't, let's not worry about minors, because you're not gonna rack up 15 in the space of 30 minutes. What actually counts as a serious or dangerous fault? Before I answer that, I want to say one thing. It's useful to know what the criteria to pass is, but also on your driving test, you're in the worst position possible to be able to judge mistakes. And I promise you, as you're driving around, you're going to be under pressure, so you will make more mistakes than usual. But there's no way for you to tell whether the examiners judge that as a small mistake, a minor mistake, a driver fault, or a huge mistake, a serious or a dangerous fault. So try not to judge mistakes as you're driving around your driving test. You lose focus, it distracts you, it takes up brain power that you should be spending on dealing with the road ahead, and then because you're distracted thinking about what that mistake was that you just made, you're then going to make more mistakes. So don't worry about minors, majors, serious, dangerous on your driving test, but let me answer your question. It's quite complicated and a lot of it is down to the examiner's judgment, but let's make it simple and boil it down to this. A serious fault is anything that you do that's illegal or against the highway code. For example, speeding, running a red light, driving across a zebra crossing when the pedestrian's about to cross. Speaking from experience. And a dangerous fault will be something that you've done in the car that's put you, other people, or other vehicles or property in danger. For example, you nearly crashed and the examiner had to save you. Do examiners fail people on purpose? Of course. They'll fail you if they're in a bad mood. They'll fail you if you didn't slip them 20 quid. They'll fail you if they didn't get their morning Haribo, and they'll fail you if they didn't eat caviar for breakfast. Why would an examiner fail you on purpose? This is how simple it is. If you drive and you don't make any mistakes, they've got no way, no reason, and no power to fail you. But talking about test quotas, talking about it being the examiner's fault, talking about it being a Friday, a Monday, any day that ends in a Y, makes it slightly easier to digest it when you fail your driving test. The fact is, everybody's got the same chance of passing. When you go for your driving test and you sit down with the examiner at the start, they've got a clean sheet on their iPad. There's no mistakes logged. You've just got to drive around for 30 minutes and don't give them a reason to tap anything. Can I talk to the examiner on my driving test? Yes, but what I will say is examiners are just human. You might have an examiner like me who loves a chat. You might have an examiner who doesn't love a chat so much. You might have an examiner who's had a really bad piece of news that morning. You might have an examiner who's just been out on it the night before and isn't really in the right headspace to have a chat. So for sure, ask a question. The examiner will definitely help you. They're all nice people. Nobody goes to work as an examiner to be mean, nasty, and fail people, because nobody in the DVSA is the Trunchable. But if you're on your driving test and you fancy having a chat about football, Star Wars, or Lightning McQueen, and the examiner's just not into that, they might not seem very receptive. Also, if you're on your driving test and it doesn't seem at all like the examiner wants to have a chat, what actually might be the case is it seems like you, from their perspective, need to concentrate. What happens if I go the wrong way on my driving test? Nothing. If you go the wrong way on your driving test and you're following the sat-nav, then the sat-nav will redirect you and get you back en route. If you go the wrong way on your driving test and the examiner is directing you, or you're following road signs, then the examiner will get you back en route and tell you where to go. Sub-question. Can I get marked down for going the wrong way on my driving test? No. If you go the wrong way correctly, then there's no marks given. This isn't a test of whether you'll get lost or not. Feel free to get lost as much as you want when you've passed your driving test. It's also not a test of whether you can follow directions or not. It's literally just a test of, are you in control of a car? Can you follow the highway code? So if the examiner says turn left, you signal right, check your right mirror and turn right, no drama at all. You'll only get marked down for the mistakes that you make. Will the examiner tell me that I failed during my driving test? They're not supposed to. If you failed your test, your examiner is supposed to let you carry on so you get the full experience. So if you think you failed your driving test, keep driving. Keep driving to the best of your ability so that you get a full picture of your actual driving. If you then give up and give the examiner your worst driving possible because you know you failed anyway, then you're gonna just end up with a sheet of majors all over the place, which might not be a true reflection of your driving. The other thing I hear a lot is, I thought I failed my driving test, I got back to the test center, I actually passed. So never give up while you're on your driving test. The examiner won't tell you if you failed, and they'll let you carry on so you get the full experience. You paid £62 for this. Have the entire driving test. You'll learn loads, and you'll be able to come back next time bigger, badder, stronger, and pass it then. Can I ask the examiner to repeat a direction? Yes, the examiners will always help you with directions if you ask, unless it's obvious. If you're driving past a sign and the sign says you must turn left and then you ask which way to go, they won't be able to help you with that because you're supposed to spot the signs and be able to read and navigate the road on your own. But even if you're on your independent driving and you're following road signs and you think you've missed the road sign, ask them the question, which way am I going? I think I've missed the sign, and they will help you. Do I have to have two hands on the wheel at all times? No. You can drive however you want. The only thing that they're marking is your control of the vehicle, not how you control it. So if you want to drive like this, like your Tom Cruise in a Top Gun movie, go for it. But if you don't have impeccable control, they will mark that down under steering. It's not because you're steering with one hand, it's because you steering with one hand is causing you to have less control over the car. Question, do I have to drive at the speed limit or can I go slower? Interesting one. Your driving test isn't an audition to be a great learner. Your driving test is an audition to be a qualified driver, like everybody else on the road. So if you're the guy doing 20 and there's a whole line of cars behind you and you're backing up traffic, you will get marked down. But it's not appropriate to do the speed limit everywhere. Read the road, read the hazards. If the speed limit says 30 and you drive down a narrow road with speed bumps, parked cars and a school, and you're doing 30, you can guarantee you will fail your driving test. You need to drive to the conditions of the road. Be safe, be smart. But driving everywhere more slowly than usual because it makes you look safer is one of the worst driving test hacks I've ever heard. And the #1 reason that people fail their driving test is not making effective observations at junctions. What does that mean? So when you're pulling up to a giveaway line, you look left, you look right, and you think you can come in front of that car that's coming down the road, but you slow them down. Your observations weren't effective enough for you to judge that that car will slow down because you pulled out in front of it. That's the reason you failed. Or on a roundabout, you looked, you thought there was a gap, you pulled into that gap, and then a car caught up to you and slowed down. Your observations weren't effective enough to judge that car's speed. You failed your driving test. Remember, the driving test isn't a race, and I think the real problem here is that people are worried about hesitation. If you miss a gap that could have got a bus in it, you're going to get hesitation minor. No drama. Take a gap that you're confident about. Don't try and slip into gaps because you're not Lewis Hamilton. You don't need to prove that you're Lewis Hamilton, and you're not trying to win any races. You're going around in a big circle. You don't need to worry about getting the examiner back on time. That's their job. Your job is to get the examiner back safely. Some of these questions are kind of common sense, but it just shows how much people are overthinking the driving test. What happens if I go the wrong way on a roundabout? Literally nothing. The examiner might go, because now they've got to use some brain power to get you back on the route. The examiner might go, ooh, 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 that one there, ooh, ooh. But really and truly, it has no impact on your driving test. All they're marking you on is how in control of the car you are, how safe you are on the road, and how well you can implement the highway code and follow the rules. How should I prepare on the morning of my driving test? I actually made a video with all my best driving test nerves, tips and advice so that you can be less nervous and more prepared for your driving test. If you think that would help you, then it's linked here and I'll put it in the video description as well. But essentially, on the morning of your driving test, don't watch loads of YouTube videos. Don't fill your mind with what ifs. Be confident. Self-affirmations really help. Are you a great driver? Of course I am. Can I pass my driving test? Of course I can. Are you prepared? Of course I am. It's also really important to have breakfast. Eat something. Your brain works off carbohydrates. So eat something so that your brain can be fizzing and working at its highest potential. But essentially, there's not really anything that you need to prepare on the morning of your driving test. Don't forget your driving license. Bring a car. Turn up and give it your best shot. Overhyping it and having a special ritual or routine is going to make you more nervous. It's literally just a drive with somebody else in the passenger seat instead of whoever normally helps you, like your instructor or your friends or family, mum or dad. If you can drive around on lessons and avoid hazards and make safe decisions, you can do it on a driving test. It's exactly the same. There's nothing different going to happen here, except there's somebody else in the passenger seat and they're going to say, is your driving safe? And if you can answer yes, then you get a driving license and you can drive solo. That's it. Some people suggest to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C on the morning of your driving test. But for me, I'd personally suggest you do nothing. Treat it like a normal day. Go to work, wake up, have coffee, do whatever you normally would do in the morning. It's just another drive. And if you've been learning for 40 hours plus, then you've done enough driving to be able to attack this in the same way that you do every other lesson. What happens if it rains or the weather's bad on my test day? Well, if it rains on your driving test, learn how to use the wipers. But if the weather's actually terrible, like it's super foggy or it's icy or snowing, then what you need to do is call up the driving test centre. Their phone number is at the bottom of your booking email and ask them if driving tests are still going ahead. Driving tests will be cancelled for extreme weather, like fog, ice on the road or snow. Or if there's been a storm last night and there's loads of power lines or trees down, again, phone the driving test centre because they might not be able to conduct driving tests that day. And let me make this clear, you're not phoning the DVSA, you have to phone your local driving test centre. The number is at the bottom of your booking email. Can I use my own car for a driving test? Yes, you can. If you've got your own car and your instructor's charging you £500 for a test fee, don't get me started. I've done the video with Annie. You guys all know the scam by now. If you don't, the video is linked in the description. But if you've got your own car and you're more comfortable driving it than your instructor's car, there's no benefit. You get zero benefit from turning up to a driving test with an instructor or a dual control car. I promise. It's the same routes, the same examiner, and the same chance of passing. If you feel like you'd be more comfortable with your mum accompanying you to your driving test, or your dad, brother, sister, whoever's helping you drive, than a driving instructor, hey, go in your own car, take them. All they'll charge you probably is a cup of tea at the end. So you could save time, you could save money, and you could be more likely to pass your driving test in your own car, your own comfortable environment. What I will say though is if you take your own car, you need a secondary interior mirror for the examiner. These are like £7 in Halfords, it's not stressful. You also need L plates on the front and back of your car. You don't need to take a sat-nav or a TomTom, the examiner brings their own. The only other thing that you need to make sure is that your car is taxed and MOT'd. It's in a roadworthy condition, so there's no sharp bits poking out of it. It would pass an MOT. So for example, the indicators and brake lights work. It also needs to not have any warning lights on the dashboard that you can't turn off. So obviously if you can just take the handbrake off and the warning light disappears, that's fine. And you also need to be insured to drive it as a learner. Sub-question to this one, can I take a hire car to my driving test? You can't take zip cars, you can't take enterprise rental cars. The examiners will not accept any car that's a hire car unless it's got dual controls. I don't know why that's the rule, but it is. So if you're thinking about hiring a car for your driving test, then pretty much your only option is Arnold Clark. That's not sponsored, it's just true. Question, what's the difference between a minor and a serious fault? Not very much, to be honest. Anything that's a minor could develop into a serious fault. I gave you the example earlier about stalling. Stalling's not a serious fault. It's really small and it's a really common mistake to make on your driving test when you're nervous. But that small stall could develop because you can't get the car restarted again, and then it turns into a case where you're blocking a junction, and then you fail your driving test. This is why I always say you're in a really bad place to judge whether you've made a small minor mistake or a serious fault on your driving test. Because really, it's only up to the examiner how far that fault's developed. It might seem serious to you, but to the examiner, you followed all the rules. I'm just gonna let that one go because you seem nervous. So really, the only difference between a minor fault and a serious fault is that you made a mistake that developed to a point where it contravened a road rule, you became a nuisance on the road, like you stalled in the middle of a junction and couldn't get going again, or you did something that was dangerous. Love this question. Do examiners mark down hesitation? Yes, they do. Like, I'm waiting at the mouth of a junction. That space was big enough to get a bus in. You could have had a tea party in that space, but you didn't go. It's hesitation. You hesitated, that's fine. But what is not hesitation is, ooh, I could have made it into that space. You don't have to prove that you're a pro driver. You don't have to prove that you're a driver that looks like they've got 10 years of experience driving. If you could have got into that space, maybe just about, then that's not hesitation. Hesitation is only when you miss a clear gap that you could have gone into. Love this question. Should I tell the examiner that I'm nervous? Do you know what? Yeah, go for it. The examiners are just people. Like, if they understand that you're nervous, they won't give you any special dispensation like, oh, you yeeted it up a curb, but this guy was nervous, it's fine. Like, you're still gonna fail. But just being human, just being personable, and just telling the examiner, do you know what, bro? I'm so nervous right now. They might be able to say something, they might be able to crack a joke, and just getting it off your chest might help you feel less nervous. Go for it. Let me know how you got on in the comments. This one kind of ties into the going too slowly question earlier, but can I fail for being too cautious? No, it's a driving test. You're supposed to be cautious, but don't let that turn into, I'm really slow. I'm basically driving like a granny on a Zimmer frame everywhere. That's not cautious, that's silly. But essentially, you should be driving cautiously. You should be driving more cautiously than if you were driving late for work. Think of it like this. The kind of driving that I want you to do on your driving test is this. You are late for work, so you do need to get on with it, but there's a police car behind you and they're following you the whole way. Think about that for a bit. That is exactly how you should drive on a driving test. What happens at the end of a test? Does the examiner tell you straight away if you've passed or not? They do, actually. They'll tell you to pull over, you'll secure the car. They might need to tap a few bits on the iPad to close your test off and get your result up on the screen. But then they'll tell you either, I'm pleased to tell you that you've passed your driving test, or they'll tell you, I'm really sorry, on this occasion you failed your driving test. And then they'll tell you whether you've passed or failed, which I think is a little bit silly. The reasons and the things that you got wrong. All the minor faults that you got. Like, sure, I want to know all the bits that I can make improvements on, but if you've literally just told me that I've passed my driving test, from that point on, I hear nothing else. After you finish your driving test as well, it's a really good opportunity to ask the examiner questions. If anything happened on the road that didn't make sense, you've banked it while you're driving so that you don't have to think about it on your drive and distract yourself from what's going on ahead of you. Ask the examiner there. If any of the mistakes or faults don't make sense, ask them before they leave. If the reason that you failed doesn't make sense, please ask for clarification. That's their job. That's what they're there for. The debrief, which is where they tell you all the mistakes, should make sense to you. And if it doesn't, ask them the question. Okay, that's the FAQs. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, then let me know in the comments and I might do this again with a whole new set of FAQs. And if you've got FAQs that you want to ask me so that I can help you feel more comfortable about your driving test too, pop them in the comments. I'll be there in the comments like I always am, commenting back with you. If you've booked a driving test, then what you will find useful is watching my driving test tips playlist. It's got all of my best tips for nerves, anxiety, and secrets from an actual driving examiner. Watch that next. And also, I hope you found this video helpful and I've earned a subscription from you. If I did, click this button. That one. Go for it. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, peace, bye!